Well, welcome to day 3 of our sprint around social media. In day 1, we talked all about how you need to think about why you're on social media, think about your ideal client. We had, talked also about all sorts of other things around your just why. Why are you here? We then went into talking about Facebook and how that's really a bedrock place that you need to be on social media, especially if you're doing any sort of online business or wanting to attract people online. So really, we see that almost as essential as having a presence on Google My Business or on your website. And then we talked about Pinterest and LinkedIn yesterday. And in those sessions, we really covered how the professional side of LinkedIn, you really want to see as your curriculum vitae, that you can walk through all of your professionals, your bragging things you've done, all the awards you've got, the licenses, all of that. And that Pinterest really is a great place if you are looking to specifically attract women. We know that 80% of users on there are female, and half of those are moms. And we talked about how you don't just talk about counseling issues, but you can talk about all these things surrounding it with that kind of filter of counseling. So today we're diving into Twitter and Instagram, which I think both of these platforms are ones that you really want to carefully consider how you spend your time there and whether you need to spend your time there. Both of them can really kind of suck you in without giving you a clear return on investment for that time. So we're going to talk about not just who should be on there, but also who shouldn't be on there. We're going to talk about some strategy for each of them, talk about kind of the best practice. What does that party look like? In other times, we've talked about how kind of each one of these platforms, it's like a party with its own culture, and you want to match that culture when you come in and not just have the same social media across all the platforms. So Sam, why don't we kick it off with Twitter? Twitter has grown in popularity, especially because political folks are now tweeting more than they have in the past. Give us a quick summary of, kind of what is Twitter? What's the culture of Twitter?
Yeah, so I'd say within the social media kind of realm, Twitter is classified as the microblogging tool because it's obviously has a maximum of 160 characters, so it's like short little bursts of content. But a lot of people obviously still use it to highlight blog posts and direct people to their website. So part of your tweet, or part of what Twitter offers in your tweet, is that it shortens your URL. So your URL will only take up to 20 characters. So it's still a nice way to kind of direct traffic to your website without using too much of your tweet to do that. So you still have some space to kind of include a nice description to get people to go through. So yeah, as you say, it's a good conversation platform. It's a good way to kind of comment on trends that are happening, give your opinion on that. And what's also nice about Twitter that the other social media platforms that we have don't focus on too much is obviously the hashtags. So it's a nice way to kind of find people that are relevant to your industry, find potential clients, kind of connect with them by either searching specific hashtags or like following conversations that are about those hashtags. And then also you can create your own unique hashtag for your business, which also then obviously creates a bit of a presence for your brand on Twitter.
Yeah, I think that conversational piece, oftentimes we started talking about social and media and how social we think of being with our friends, and media, it's like this one-sided billboard kind of thing. For a while, I think Twitter was like this one-sided, people just kind of putting things out there. But it seems like now there's more of the back and forth and people kind of developing deeper conversations on there about things, but they're still so short form. So who do you think that Twitter, it's worth it for them to be on Twitter? Like, what are the types of private practices that you'd say you might want to consider being on Twitter if?
So I would say, I think the audience on Twitter is quite broad and diverse. So I would more put it down to if you feel like you've conquered kind of the more important social media platforms in terms of your ideal clients. So whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, or Pinterest, like we've already discussed, if you feel like you've conquered that and you feel like you have the time, then I would say Twitter is worth it. Or even if you have a program that's scheduling your posts for you, that you can kind of just, whatever you post on Facebook, you can have it automatically post on Twitter as well, then I'd say it's worth it. And then kind of just popping on every now and then to maybe engage in conversations or, reply to followers, things like that. But Joe, I agree with what you said. I don't think it's one of the forefront social media platforms.
Yeah. I think that The use of hashtags is a really important thing within Twitter to see what's trending.
Yeah.
So they right away will tell you, I think it's is it the top 5 trending
Yeah.
hashtags? And so you can see what's kind of trending on Twitter and then use that for blog posts that you might want to write. And so it could really inspire you. So like, for example, when Anthony Bourdain died, I had a consulting client who he wrote a blog post about Anthony Bourdain and about kind of suicide prevention and depression and all these other things. And that became his most viewed blog post of all time within like a weekend. And then he got all these media appearances and things like that. And so we aren't all always keeping up on the news, on what's going on with all the celebrities, like unless you're just like a celebrity gossip lover, we don't really dive into that stuff. But if you're looking for inspiration of things that people are searching for, things that people are interested in, to be able to write a blog post or create content that then you share that relates to these things through that kind of therapy lens, you're then creating content that's going to attract more people to your practice. And then you never know where some of that's going to lead. So I think that that's how I use Twitter. I don't tend to, I personally don't like Twitter. Like I feel like it's just one-sided for the most part. So if I'm going to use it, that's typically where I would use it. What are other kind of those small examples of how people can use Twitter or some of the analytics that are within there?
So another cool thing is to find potential customers or clients who live or work near your business. So you can use Twitter advanced search, to find people near your location. And you can also use the places feature to identify your location by city or zip code. And then Twitter actually displays people that are tweeting near that location. So it's like borderline creepy, but but it is still a cool way to kind of connect with people around you and kind of see who's in the neighborhood. And then what's also quite cool, just from like an organizational point of view, is that you can create separate lists on Twitter. So if, for example, you're following like potential clients, or you're following like neighborhood and community businesses, people that you find inspirational, you can organize all of those people into separate lists, and then you can access those threads separately. So then obviously if you access the thread of people that you find inspirational, it'll be all kind of inspirational content as opposed to like everything being all in one. So that's another thing that's quite cool. But yeah, I agree with you. I think the main kind of power behind Twitter is the hashtags and kind of seeing what's trending and if there are relevant conversations to take part of.
Yeah, and I think that they increased their character count up to 280 or something like that recently. Yes. So there is a little bit more space, but I kind of liked when it was shorter because then people couldn't go on and on. But yeah, so it is. But yeah, I think this brings up a point where I know someone just said in the chat that, I was on Twitter once like 6 years ago. I'm behind the curve. Yes, but in social media, I always start with like, where do I enjoy, like which social media do I enjoy first? And put your time into that to really master it. And so we're going to talk about Instagram in a minute. I love Instagram. I love the visual side of it. For me, like that's my jam. And then Facebook and Pinterest and those things, like they help the business. I'd say for Facebook, I like the groups with like next level practice and for my next level mastermind, but I'm not really on there for fun to find out about my friends. I would rather just talk to them. And so figuring out for yourself, like what are you naturally drawn to? And if you rock out all the areas that you're naturally drawn to, and then you're like, hey, I still have some more social media battery in me. I'm going to spend that on Twitter now. That's where I would say, don't feel guilty that you're not on Twitter. Don't feel guilty that you're not on Instagram or Pinterest. You probably should feel guilty if you're not on Facebook. So I just want to kind of say that because oftentimes we feel like we have to be everywhere and we don't. We have to be where our clients are, but we also have to be where it's authentic to us. If we hate Twitter, then don't be on Twitter because you're going to attract people that love Twitter and those aren't your people. I see a couple kind of questions coming in here. And so random question, is Tailwind like Hootsuite or something like that? So that's, I think, a follow-up question from yesterday in regards to Pinterest. We haven't switched over to use Tailwind yet. So I don't really know exactly that much about it. Sam, do you know much about it? I know new Sam has been doing more of the research around.
Yeah, I also don't know too much, but from what she's kind of showed me, it is similar to Hootsuite, and I think kind of the only difference is that you can schedule pins on Pinterest as well as scheduling on other social media platforms. So it's kind of maybe like a step up from Hootsuite in the sense that it's got Pinterest as well, but it's not free. So I know on Hootsuite you can operate on a free version, obviously with certain limitations, but then with Tailwind. I think it's like $10 a month or something like that.
Yeah, and we also use Meet Edgar to do a lot of our kind of automated posts too, and you have a library and all that. So yeah, all right. So what else should people know about Twitter? I mean, in general, I'd say of all the social media platforms we're covering, that's the one that I'd say is going to give you the least return on investment for your time. Is that accurate, would you say, Sam?
Yeah, I'm also not like a huge fan of Twitter. I've also never really taken to it too much. But you can also include imagery. So obviously photos, like the visual side, you can include that on Twitter as well, which will make more of an impact. And they do kind of take your top 6 photos and make a bit of a gallery on your profile. So you could kind of use that to tell a bit of a story as well. So yeah, I'd say pretty much exactly what you said. Like if you find that if you do enjoy Twitter, then by all means go for it. And obviously there are, I think the hashtags are powerful, and there are certain aspects that you can kind of use to engage with your clients or potential clients. But yeah, I don't think it's the most powerful platform.
Yeah. I set up this kind of hack a long time ago when I first started, when I wanted to kind of engage with Twitter more. There's this app and website called Stumbleupon. And Stumbleupon, it just kind of curates articles around certain topics that you say you're into. So, you know, I have entrepreneurship, business, counseling, mental health, you know, lifestyle things. And I used if this, then that, so that every time I thumbs up an article in Stumbleupon, it would automatically tweet out, this is a great business and psychology article. Then it would put the name of the article and the link to the article in it. So then I would do probably 10 or 15 of these thumbs ups in 10 or 20 minutes as I'm quickly like reading these articles. So then I have this kind of flood of, these are some great articles. And you can also have it tweet out specific hashtags. Like, you know, for me, it would be marketing, business, small business tools, things like that. For you, it might be, you know, hashtags counseling, psychology, parenting. So if you don't want to have to go in and, you know, copy and paste these articles and put it into Twitter, you can set up these recipes within if this, then that, which is totally free to use, so that you can just, you know, hey, I'm going to thumbs up these things, and then it's going to tweet all these things out. So if you can find those things that are going to kind of save you that time, you then can put out a whole bunch of good quality content in 20 minutes and then build your following without having to be on there every single day and get sucked in.